Okay, the Canon R5 and the R5C share a lot of similarities, but one of the key differences between the two cameras is going to be the R5C's ability to shoot 4K 60 frames per second downsampled from that beautiful 8K sensor. The R5 shoots 4K 60, but it is not downsampled from the 8K sensor. Now, someone that finds myself using the 4K 60 frames a second for B-roll all the time, I decided it'd be kind of fun to go and take a look at just how different these 4K 60 frames per image looks between the R5 and the R5C. So let's jump outside, take a look, and see what it looks like. Okay, so I'm right here now with the Canon R5 and the R5C, both at 60 frames a second. We're going to test them out side by side. Now, I do want to make some notes about this test before I start. The first thing is I have set the ISO on these all the way down to 200. That does affect the dynamic range a little bit, so keep that in mind. I just didn't want to do a situation where I had to put NDs on there that would affect what we have. And I really want to see if this oversample 60 frames a second makes a difference. That's why I have these leaves behind me, because I figure those little fine points of resolution might be a good thing for you to see how it all goes. Now, I know usually when I shoot 60 frames a second, I'm going to shoot it in slow motion. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back there, I'm going to do a walking test, come forward in slow motion, and let's see how each of these does at 60 frames a second once I slow it down. Okay, so here I am now walking up, and as to be expected, the two cameras, as far as the motion, looks pretty much identical. The real detail comes down to, well, the details. And if you look here, you can see from the wide shot, you can start to see my shirt, how much clearer it is, but look what happens when I punch in here to 100%. You can really see the details on the shirt. You can see how much crisper that shot is. Now, I want to do one more thing where I took a ball here just to throw it. Once again, just to show the detail that's captured if you have a moving object like this. And once again, you can really see that 8K oversample footage looks fantastic on the R5C versus R5. And I'm coming at 200%. You can really see just how much more detailed that downsampled 4K 60 frames per second is when you get on the details of my shirt. Okay, so you can obviously see from that first set of tests that there is obviously a difference between a downsampled 8K sensor and the standard 4K 60 frames per second on the Canon R5. However, that being said, it wasn't a completely fair test because I wanted to film the motion at the same time, so I had two different lenses on. So I wanted to do one more test that was a true pixel peeping type test. So what I did is I took a Canon RF 50mm lens, put it on both cameras, set it up here in a studio, and decided to put it up on a chart and just really compare the resolution in a true apples to apples comparison. Now, as you can see here, I have the Canon R5 and the Canon R5C in a straight-up chart test. And once again, looked pretty good from a regular distance, but once you come in 100%, you can really start to see the clarity that comes from the oversampled 8K footage. And if I come in here to 200%, you're going to really start to see how much crisper it is. Look at the lines there, and look when I go to the text. If I go to the text, you can really see it. Okay, so there you go. So I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever that that downsampled 8K image is going to be crisper and really have a nicer level of resolution than what you can get on the R5 at just a standard 4K 60. But I think the real question comes down for you, if you are a shooter, if you're thinking about these two cameras, is does it really matter? I mean, I think like most things in this life, it depends. The 4K 60 on the Canon R5C is obviously crisper and has better detail. But there are other drawbacks to the Canon R5C that still might draw you to the Canon R5 in 60 frames per second. And the big thing comes down to this. If you're in a situation where you're filming a lot of stuff with motion blur, well, I find that realistically when I'm doing stuff like on a gimbal, for instance, the motion blur kind of negates some of this crispness advantage. If you're shooting everything at a 180-degree shutter angle and you're dealing with things moving, the crispness doesn't become quite as critical. If you're doing product videography and things that you're really focusing hardcore on products, then it makes a gigantic difference. So that's one of the things you need to consider. Are you doing just kind of general B-roll? Well, the 4K 60 on the R5 is probably going to be more than enough for you. If you're doing a lot of high-end video and product stuff, then you're going to probably want that extra resolution from the Canon R5C. The other thing to consider is this. I personally find myself using 60 frames per second on gimbal work a lot. And the fact of the matter is on the Canon R5, I have Bluetooth and wireless control that I can control from my RS3 Pro gimbal. I do not have that on the Canon R5C because R5C does not have wireless and Bluetooth control on it like the R5. This is actually a gigantic thing for me if I'm doing run and gun stuff and going fast. I will often find myself going to the R5 because I know I can work with it quicker than I will on the R5 just because the battery life is a little bit of a problem and I really miss that Bluetooth and wireless connectivity. So those are the things you really need to consider if you are looking at a 4K 60 frames per second on either Canon R5 or the R5C. But anyway, guys, I thought you might find this interesting to see these two images head to head straight up. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you have to say with this. Go ahead and leave me any notes and messages down below. And yeah, go out there, keep on shooting, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.